Sports Lounge 289, College Football Preview 2022. Marcus, Lincoln joins us. Are those we had Charlie might be here, Stacken will be here later, so we'll talk about like baseball stuff that Stacken doesn't care about before he gets here. And Mississippi State is the guest for my hat. It's a red button. What else was there? Louisville. They won it all last year, so if you win it, I'll get
Georgia. Gregory Gorillas. Gregory Gorillas.
A big year for Gregory, back in the top 5. It's my only Georgia hat, so Georgia wins it last year. Plenty of college football to get to. We'll start with some baseball, some other non-things since we last talked. Twins. Twins are playing games. Yankees suck now. Mets and Braves and Dodgers look good in the National League. Twins are still in here with their game and a half out. They're trying to give this division away. Lincoln, what's been the most disappointing thing here for this Twins team? They're still in it. They still got a shot. They're a game and a half back. Nobody in this AL Central seems to be particularly any good. They made some moves pitching-wise. They signed Carlos Correa. Buxton's been around. What is it with this team? They should be better than they are.
Yeah, they should be way better than they are. The offense most recently has been annoying with the big bats not coming through, and they've been rather sporadic. The pitching's been up and down and around and hasn't been great the last month or 6 weeks. They keep on throwing guys out there in spots that they probably shouldn't be. Rocco finally showed some fire a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago. But this division is terrible, and somehow, some way, they're not even in first place. I think they're going to wind up. I think there should be fun. The September schedule is not all that difficult if they can take care of business and just hold serve against Cleveland and Chicago the rest of the way. They should still win the division. But there he is, Hildebrand, king of New York City. I love it.
Look at that hat. Good. All orange.
It'd be fun to hear this, but I bought this in New York City. I was trying to find a New York Knicks hat. They were all way too expensive and looked dumb, and my sister saw this one for $10. I was like, hey, it works as a Knicks, and Mets, and an Islanders hat. Perfect.
I tell you what, the shades make the whole outfit, Charlie.
You don't have to think very hard about that look on the sideline at Madison Square Garden. It's not a very big leap.
True.
No.
All right, I got to take the sunglasses off. They're polarized, so I can barely see the computer screen.
Well, they work. Marcus, we'll get to Charlie's trip to New York here in a minute. Twins have made moves. They brought in some starting pitchers. They shored up the bullpen. That's good to see. But things like if the pitching's fine, the offense isn't, and vice versa. I still think they're going to win this division. They got the Astros coming up, so that's not good. But they got 8 games against Cleveland, plenty against Chicago. I still think they win it somehow. But you've been to a couple games. They swept Kansas City last week, lose 2 out of 3 to Texas. It seems like they can't put it all together for a good little run here.
I think they're the epitome of inconsistency. That's what they've been all season. Just when they've had hitting, they don't have the pitching. When they've had pitching, they don't have the hitting. I agree with David completely. Their situation in the last few weeks with the offense, just so many guys hitting very meager batting averages. Kepler's nothing special. You've got a rise that's at the top of the AL and batting average, but aside from that, Buxton and he gets out all the time. It's just,
Jose Miranda's been great, rookie.
He has been great. We'll give him that much. Hitting the 4th slot today. I don't know. I think it comes back to, is this pitching staff as it's constructed right now going to win you postseason games? And I'm not seeing it right now. You could make the argument that, okay, well, we're only going to ask for 5 innings out of these guys. That's clearly what they're doing all season. Some of them, by pure necessity, Archer, his arm could explode at any moment, so you got to be careful with that. But, Tyler Mahle, you got, the other Sonny Gray, these guys, you get, third time through the order, they're coming out of the game. So they're really putting a lot of pressure on this bullpen, and they did make improvements on that at the trade deadline, but I'm not seeing it quite yet that this is a bullpen that's going to be closing the door on anybody, in October. So I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing this this losing streak in October extending one way or the other. And really all we're asking for is one win in some shape or form.
They do this thing with the starting pitching, then they don't address the bullpen until late in the season here, and you got Tyler Duffy and Joe Smith and other guys that just didn't work out. So it's very frustrating to see. Dylan Bundy's pitched well at home, and he pitched well the other night, and Chris Archer pitched well last night, and they only have him go 5 innings, 5 in the third. And I understand the third time through the order thing, but it's like, Jesus Christ, can we get 6 innings out of these guys? I mean, the bullpen, you just can't use this bullpen as much as you have. So
you can't complain about how stretched out your bullpen is if this is your strategy. If you're always asking them to get 4 or 5 innings every night, then you can't use some of your best guys 2 nights in a row, 3 nights in a row, whatever the situation is going to be, and that forces you to throw Emilio Pagan, and he literally the worst reliever of all time as far as giving up home runs per 9 innings. So yeah, keep trotting him out there, and tell me that he's got good stuff, because he has a propensity to leave pitches in the middle of the strike zone to get walloped out of the park.
Yeah, he's also got some bad stuff. So he's been very frustrating to watch.
At some point, you are what you are. I mean, and this is what he's been for the last 2 or 3 years. So I don't know what we're waiting on, but.
And Carlos Correa's, defense has been good. Seems like a team leader type, and but the offense has just not been there. And Buxton has never been able to hit the ball very consistently. He's hitting like 220, but at least now when he hits it, it's probably going to be a home run. So I guess that's good. But again, his on base is under 300. And how have they handled Buxton? He's got this bad knee. He's had it seemingly all year long. He hasn't had the big DL stint. I felt like they should have rested him over the All-Star break. He could have been out for a week without missing a game. They didn't do that, and he's been in and out of the lineup. We wondered what he would do when he was, I guess, played a full year, and this is what this is. So, David, how would you assess Buxton? And the big story was how they were using him and DH more often than center field, but this knee seems to be an issue all year long.
Yeah, the knee's definitely an issue, and there's no other way to say it. Even with the improved power, it's still – you have to categorize it as a disappointment. I mean, with the average, with the strikeouts, with the in and out, and being that he can DH more often, have that potential to bat in the lineup with the lack of everything else that they have. That's been fine to see. And like you said, he hasn't been on the shelf for 6 weeks this year, so that's been encouraging. But I don't know. He's fun to watch, but he's also still so frustrating because what he has shown for a couple weeks or a month at a time, but he just can't seem to be anything more consistent. And even if honestly, it would make such a big difference in people's perspective if he was a 250 hitter instead of a 220 hitter. It would just but he's not, and I think we're gonna have to live with it for the next couple of years. I don't ever see him hitting anywhere close to 300. We can hope for 250, 260, and with the power and the great glove, but I guess we'll see.
Well, Twins riding around that 500 mark. They're a game and a half behind Cleveland here with about 40 games to go. The King of New York joins us fresh off his trip. Charlie, when did you go? Where did you go? Why did you go? Let's start there. The whens, the whys, the hows.
Let's see. It was the Monday the 8th. I flew out there and flew back to Omaha on Saturday the 13th. I went because I had vacation time I needed to use, and it's a lot easier to do it in between seasons than when there's a lot of stuff going on. I think we were in New York City once when I was a little kid. I don't remember it really at all. And the other thing is that my youngest sister lives in New York, so it was like, oh, I've got a place I can stay at, so I don't have to get a hotel, and someone who knows where to go and what to do there. So that was the biggest thing. I think it was fun. I would not advise going in the summer, especially if you're someone that runs hot all the time like I do. Yeah. It was pretty hot there. I was like, oh, Subway's underground. It'll be cool in the subway, right? Nope, Subway's still really hot too.
Jesus. What were the highlights? Did you kind of know what you were going to do each day? What were your
I didn't come up with a lot of stuff to do because I just knew my sister would have more stuff. The biggest thing was just by happenstance. Bill Burr was performing there in Queens, so we went to see that, which was fun. Other than something in Brookings or Sioux City where they're like, hey, buy 2 drinks and you get into comedy night with people, you've never heard of before. Outside of that, I had never been to something where you're like, oh no, you're just here to see one person. So as you can imagine, the level of execution was much, much higher for Bill Burr than it was the people going to Brookings and stuff. We went to the Museum of Film and TV, which was kind of fun, and went to the Spy Museum, which that was probably even more fun. I did like that. And we would have done more stuff, but she had to work a couple of the days. And like I said, it was quite hot. There was basically a point each day where she was like, all right, you want to do something else? And I was like, I'm kind of done now. I'm pretty worn out from, 10,000 steps today, and it's hot and sweaty. I'm ready to go back and relax now.
Any good food? Any pizza? Anything like that?
There was a lot of good food. We did not go to any specific high-known pizza places. We just got pizza from around where she lived, which was still really good. There's a place in Times Square, and it's somewhere else too. There's 2 locations called Los Tacos number 1, and those are the best tacos I've ever had in my life. Yes. I would definitely say that that's worth going to. We also went to a sub place that I think was called Sal, Chris, and Charlie's. My name being in it didn't have anything to do with why we went there. It was just close by one of them, or sort of close by the museums. But it had the largest sub sandwich I'd ever seen before. That was also incredibly good. Yeah. I think it's called the Bomb, and they basically are like, hey, let's put some of every meat we have on here in the whole place on here. And you could imagine it was very large, but it also tasted really good.
How would you compare New York to the other big cities you've been to?
New York's different because it's more compact, and there's buses and trains and stuff for other cities, but it's always like, oh, hey, someone has a car, or we'll get our own car and drive. And my sister doesn't have a car because so many people in New York don't, unless you're loaded, because there's no place to park. So it's very heavily hey, we got to take the subway, or we have to get a taxi or an Uber. And I probably planned on getting more taxis and Ubers than we got, but those get expensive, and it's only $250 to ride the subway. So it's oh, all right, that's a lot cheaper. It's also weird that like there's times where I don't know how to explain it really, like the smell. For the most part, you don't smell anything and it's fine. But like every 3 blocks for like 1.5 steps, you're like, oh my God, that's the worst smell I've ever heard. And then it's gone. And you're like, that was weird. I don't know how that happened.
Thank you, New York. Can you confirm you were there in barbecue business or not? Where you were?
I've signed an NDA and I can't discuss that.
You'll find out on next year's tax return, okay?
That's right. There'll be a big announcement on
Maybe
Good Morning
during a bowl game too. Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll be on the lookout for that there. Nathan Stacken going to join us. He's had another kid, number 2 for Stacken. This one, a very large individual. I think it was about 2 weeks overdue. His name's Jason, named it after Jason Hove. He said, Marcus, what do you make of Stacken, an average sized man with big hands and 2 different sized feet? His wife, an average sized woman. He has had 2 kids. Noah's about to turn 5. He's a massive individual for his age. He's turning about 50 pounds. What do you make of the very fertile Stacken? He's got 2 kids, and they appear to be early indications are maybe they're early bloomers. They appear to be very big for a family that seems to be fairly normal size.
Well, Stacken has briefed us on some level of his family history, and it doesn't appear that there's any sort of gigantism that runs in the family or anything like that. So, as far as we know, this is peculiar. I think it's hilarious that Stack kids will very soon be able to beat him up physically. I would say by age 10, it should be game over. So, and I'm also excited. I know Stacking. I mean, obviously he's a huge sports fan. I think the odds are looking good that he's going to have a couple college football playing sons, offensive or defensive line. So that's really encouraging, and there's free tickets involved with that. So hopefully Stacking looks forward to that.
This is rampant speculation, but is it possible that Stacken's already giving his kids performance-enhancing drugs? That's what
Yeah, very sneaking them in smoothies. He's a big smoothie guy. Can sneak anything in there, or just inject them with stuff when your wife's not looking.
They're on a very, very robust whey powder regimen, protein shakes in the womb, and now in infancy, toddler stage, into kindergarten, that sort of thing.
I think we can all see him in the 20 years from now. He'll have a half Iowa and a half Iowa State jersey when his kids are playing against each other. That'll be very exciting to see Stacking on national TV, making his. I believe that'd be his first national TV appearance since the Summer League tournament of 2009.
Yeah, you come a long way from holding the cord there, buddy. Good job.
Yeah.
And
you may know me from other Summer League tournaments.
I'm thinking about remind me his first son's name.
Noah.
So Noah's going to be. Is he going into kindergarten, or is that
next year? Next year will be kindergarten.
So he's got to wait. He's got a little ways to go. I mean, but I'm sure there'll be a preschool situation. There'll probably be a lunch situation of some sort. There'll probably be a milk choice. That's a big deal when you're in elementary school. When you're young, it's either white milk, chocolate milk if things are going well. I'm guessing he will come to school with his own drink. He'll have his own protein shake already mixed up because obviously he's got to keep up. You can't take a chance on whatever Kemp's Orlando Lakes is putting in that little thing of milk. You need to stay on your regimen.
You never know. Maybe Stacking will hire someone to just keep breastfeeding his children. If they say that's the most potent and most natural, there's just some lady that shows up to school that's like, all right, kid,
get over here.
Just buy him a cow. Schottenkirk has been compromised here at the moment, so he's there. I was going to ask him the big news, Charlie. The big news of the college football offseason, I would say, would be UCLA and USC somehow going to the Big Ten. Stunning news when I first heard it. It's something that you have to confirm. I was like, is this real? This sounds legitimate, but it doesn't sound real. I guess is this the final domino of all the other things that have happened here, starting with 2009, 2010, even before that, kind of the first conference shuffle. Is this the last big move that kind of sets the future of college football over the next decades going forward?
I do not think it's the last move. I think before Texas and Oklahoma left to go to the SEC, we could have said that was going to be done for a while. Mm-hmm. But with the SEC getting those two and now the Big Ten getting these two, I think we're really getting to the point where the SEC and Big Ten might just do their own thing. I don't think it's going to be within the next 5 years, but at some point just saying, we don't care if TCU or if Central Florida or Oregon State doesn't like this. We don't play football the way they do, and we're going to play by our own rules, and we don't need the NCAA, and we're going to leave. And I think if you're a fan of a Big Ten or an SEC school, it'll probably end up being fine. If you're a fan of most of the other conferences in one of the few teams that might not still get picked up, like, Notre Dame or Oregon or Clemson, then it might not be as much fun then.
Marcus, we've got the Big Ten and the SEC. And all this movement the last decade, we've never seen a team go down to like the Mountain West. We've never seen a Power 5 team have to drop down anywhere. And maybe we never will see that. Like Charlie said, it seems like the Big Ten and the SEC are moving up a class unofficially and leaving everybody else behind. The Big 12 they were on life support. I mean, they're going to survive now with Cincinnati and Houston and everybody else they're bringing in. The ACC hasn't really had much movement, and the Pac-12 seems to be on life support. If you're the Big 12, what Pac-12 teams are you at maybe that would be attractive to kind of poach them? And do you think the Big 12 or the Pac-12 think they survive this, or are we finally going to see a big-time conference go away?
I think there's going to be a merger of some sort. It's really interesting how the last move was the Big Ten's move, and they may have still the next move. It's hard to say exactly what the SEC would do. They're going to be at 16. Do they need to add anybody else? No, but do they want to? And who would you want to add? You'd probably want to add Clemson. If you do that, maybe you want to add North Carolina. There will be rivals in their conference that don't want to do that. Miami, Florida State, they're going to be off. They're going to be Florida's not going to want to do that necessarily. So it's hard to imagine the SEC necessarily expanding. I think the Big Ten and the SEC would drop all rules to add Notre Dame, right? They're the one big cow that's still out there that, if for whatever reason they wanted to give up independence, they could. But I think it's clear with this TV deal that the Big Ten signed that Notre Dame can get some money yet. And they really just need to hit up NBC like they always do, and they'll get what they want. I mean, it's going to be an unbelievable amount of money for 7 games or whatever you pay for, 8 games, each season. So I think, to me, what makes the most sense is the Big 12 and the Pac-12 have some sort of merger. I mean, I think everybody kind of agrees that Washington, Oregon, and Stanford are probably the most interesting potential merger candidates if you're the Big Ten. How willing is the Big Ten to merge with those teams? I don't know. I mean, the Big Ten can be pretty picky right now. To me, it makes a lot of sense if I'm the Big 12. One, I think you had to do what you had to do by adding Cincinnati and BYU and Houston and those teams, but you got to be kicking yourself saying if we would have waited one more year, we could have added some better schools and not had to even go to those schools. We could have added Arizona State, took Colorado back, could have taken Utah, we'd be done. And we'd be at 12. Now, they still could have those 4 teams and get to 16, and I would think that'd be perfectly fine. What the hell do you do with the rest of the teams in that league? I don't know. I mean, what is the situation with Cal? I have no idea. You got academia. You got the fact that they don't have any money, the big budget problems. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Stanford is Stanford. Everybody's going to want them in some way, shape, or form. And I think Washington and Oregon are interesting, but I'm a guy in a classic sense that really believes the geography is important, and that's going to hell anyway. So it doesn't matter at this stage. I was like you guys, probably completely stunned on day one when you heard that USC and UCLA are joining the Big Ten. There was a little bit of denial at first, but I'm pretty much fully on board at this point. I think it's gonna be cool. I think the games are gonna be pretty interesting. I think that they make a certain amount of sense. They make a lot of sense from a brand standpoint. They make a certain amount of sense just in the ecosystem of the other teams in the Big Ten. And if I could, I'd kick out Maryland and Rutgers, but we've talked about that a gazillion times. And I'd kick them out and get 2 better teams because the rules don't seem to matter. But like you said, nobody's going backwards really. So you're probably not gonna do that.
Yeah, once you have teams from Florida and Utah joining the Big 12, the geography didn't matter much. Then you've got, the way out there, a California school, a couple of them joining the Big Ten. Were you excited, Schottenkirk, being a USC fan? Competition's going to get a little bit tougher here, but obviously the money is a big factor if he's there with us.
Yeah. The money's obviously a gigantic factor, and I was excited because the last thing I wanted to happen to them was for them to wait and watch everything kind of change, and then be the last ones to move. Them doing that, there's been even 10 years ago, there's been kind of this on the back burner that USC wanted to get out of the Pac-12, and they were not happy with a lot of things, the 9:30 kickoffs and the conference not treating them as the king of the conference. Obviously, the results in the field the last 10 years have been not great compared to their standard. But from the impact with Los Angeles and going with UCLA, it's great, and it's only going to get bigger. And I think we're going right towards super conferences. So I'm glad that we're going to be firmly entrenched in one of those.
I kind of see it. I kind of see the Big Ten and the SEC basically becoming two conferences, the East and the West, and that's kind of your new Power Four conferences. You can have 8 or 9 or 10 teams in the Big Ten East and West, and you may play one crossover game, and then you'll have the big championship at the end to decide your playoff winner. So it's basically two conferences in one with the SEC and the Big Ten. Charlie, as we look towards this season, Alabama, number 1, Georgia, they finally won it all last year. You had a couple new teams finally. Michigan, Cincinnati finally made it. Didn't do very well in the playoff. But are we in an unprecedented time of, I talk about every year, it's the same teams every year. It's always Alabama. It's usually another SEC team. It's been Georgia. LSU's been in there. Oklahoma is always in the mix. Clemson has been on a pretty good 5-6 year run here. Is this abnormal, what we're seeing? Is this because it's a 4-team thing instead of a 2-team thing? Or because you look at, Florida State had a pretty good run. They had a good 10+ year run in the 90s. And, Miami had about 5 really good years. USC had 5 excellent years. And 5 is about the cap. But we've had Alabama going on for 15 years now. Is there a reason why this happens?
It's a great question. I mean, if you look at it, usually that whenever, whether it was USC, Miami, Ohio State, Nebraska, like any of these schools that are really great, there's some point where they lose and everyone's like, oh, well, they lost, but they'll still be great. And then it was like, actually, that was it, either for forever or for at least 5 or 6 years. And Alabama's the only school that's not really had that. And I mean, unless, last year was the last year they ever make it to the national title game. But I think before we get too far ahead of ourselves, can say that it's unlikely that they're never going to play in another title game over the next 5 years, the way the run's been going. Yeah. I don't know how, other than having Nick Saban and a school committed to doing whatever he's wanted, I don't think we've ever seen a school like industrialize itself the way they have, just in terms of like, no, we've streamlined everything. Because at some point, always what had happened is either a coach leaves for the NFL or gets in trouble and gets fired or retires. And Nick Saban's the only one that just has not done that for 15 years and been this successful at doing it. And it's so rare. I don't think we're going to see it, at least at the highest level of college football, probably again in our lifetimes to that degree. So if, in that way, it's been incredibly abnormal over the last 50 to 70 years. But, for the last 10, they've been the one constant in college football. I guess I should say since 2008, the first year they were really good under Saban. So the last essentially 15 years.
But isn't part of this also you have a school that's kind of made the most of this format. They've made the most, and I think you can maybe make an argument. You can make the argument with Clemson as well. You can make the argument with Ohio State to a certain extent that you got to be in the top 4 and get in the playoff, and you've got a chance to win the whole thing. So those teams have had a slip up in the regular season and lost a game. We're not in this era where we're playing in these predetermined bowl games at the end of the year, and we'll vote on who we think was the best team. And well, if there's a tie or a split national championship, whatever, we have the score settled every year. And I agree with what Charlie said. It is an industrious way of approaching football. I think when Saban retires, we'll have a reset in some ways of I'm sure the coach after him will keep it rolling. They're not going to. I don't think Mike Shula is walking through the door to lead them, but aside from that, they'll still be really good. But we're waiting for. To me, we're waiting for what is that next big shift in college football, and I think we might be on the precipice of it. NIL. We'll see what ends up happening. Maybe that changes the game a little bit. Is it going to be USC against Miami? Is really the question. Are those going to be the two teams that are just going to? And Texas A&M just throwing a crap ton of money at guys. Let's see. But, that those are the things, everything, you have these shifts that happen in college football. So when's the next one, and how close are we, or how far away were we from the last one? And I'm interested to see, if that changes the situation. To answer your question, Alabama is probably going to be prepared for whatever it ends up being, but I'm interested.
The Bama thing is fascinating because we're 15 years in, and I know Saban's old, but with that job, it's not like obviously there is stress involved in it. He puts a lot of work into it and whatnot, but I don't see any indication that he's going to step aside anytime soon. This run's not over, and I know that's not exactly breaking news, but even with all the landscape changes, Bama's going to be Bama probably for at least the next 5 years.
I think it's clear he gets something out of this, right? At some point, it would just be a certain number of national championships. You're the best coach of all time. That's enough.
And he wants 10. He won't say, but he wants 10.
He's not there yet, so that means there's more to get done. So
the other thing too is that with coaches making so much more money and also being smarter, like science and health wise, is that he's in his 70s in a time where 30 years ago, if you were in your 70s, it's like, well, no, I don't know if this guy can hold up for an entire season. Where, I mean, I'm not saying he will. I think he's 71 now, or 70 or 71. Like, I don't think we'd be stunned if he was like coaching till he was in his late 70s or early 80s, because at least outwardly he appears to be in good functional shape. Where. I remember, like, not that Tom Osborne was in, like, awful health, but Tom Osborne was in, like, his early 60s when he retired and looked worse than Nick Saban does right now.
I mean, not to completely just keep blowing off the Bama program and Saban in particular, but it's in the middle of this run. Sometimes you kind of get lost. Some people get lost in just, oh, my God, what are they doing? But we kind of alluded to it a couple minutes ago. We're never going to see this again, and it's not over. It's absolutely mind-blowing what they've done in the last 15 years and what they probably will continue to do for the next few.
But I just want to say that, like, okay, if this has happened at Alabama, how could we say that we'll never see it again? Like, I think we could see it again somewhere else because Tuscaloosa, Alabama is not the most, fancy place there's ever been. Obviously, you need to have the right sort of circumstances. You need to have a university that pushes everything else out of the way to make football happen, and you need a rabid fan base, and you need big-pocketed donors. But there's other places that have that, and
it's the
years and all the national titles. I get that, but to me, it's not completely out of reach that somebody else goes on a mega run. Now, I can't sit here and tell you who it's going to be, but to me, it's not. I can't sit here and say it's never going to happen again.
It's the perfect storm of facilities, the culture, the school doing whatever they want to do to help everything go that way. And it's the fact that in that situation might exist in the future, but to also have a fucking genius as the head guy of that, I think it's going to be pretty hard for somebody to duplicate it.
The other thing, too, is that what a lot of great coaches aren't great at doing is that he's reinvented himself, too.
Right.
I mean, the early Alabama teams looked like Wisconsin does now, with better athletes, and that is not at all what they look like now. Completely different style on offense or defense, because as, he would be like, well, this torched my defense. I guess this is what I'm going to do. And it's like, all right,
exactly.
What do you have to do on defense? And for coaches in their 60s, it's incredibly difficult to say, yeah, we're going to completely stylistically change what we're doing. But he's done it to his credit, and it's worked fantastically well.
I do agree with what Charlie said. The main barrier to this is the coaches that say, I want to try the NFL or I want to try some other challenge, and they're not. And I mean, let's be honest, that's what created this situation. Nick Saban came back from the NFL and realized, hey, I'm pretty good at this college thing. I'll just keep that rolling. And he completely – I agree with everything that's been said here. He did, completely reinvent himself. And he's done it multiple times over, which makes you pretty attractive to these top quarterbacks that he's continued to bring in.
And part of the playoff thing with the same teams every year, you've had the ACC, you've had Clemson. And other than them, there's been no other team close in the ACC to a playoff appearance at all.
Unless Notre Dame counts, but they don't.
Unless you count them. And then you've had Notre Dame's been in there a couple times. The Pac-12's been pretty uncompetitive. Washington made it once. Oregon made it, I think, that first year. Other than that, they've been shut out quite a bit. So when you have, two of the conferences not do a whole lot outside of Clemson, you've got Ohio State pretty much ruling that conference, the Big Ten, for the most part. You've had a Michigan State here and there. Michigan makes it, but, 4 times out of 5. It's going to be Ohio State. And then you got the Big 12, and it's the same thing as we had with Clemson with Oklahoma. It's a one-team conference. That helps to get Ohio State, Alabama in there every year. Now Georgia, they appear to be they're not on the come. They are coming as we speak, I believe is what they're doing. We talked about Clemson. We talked about Georgia finally won. Georgia's been good for a long time. And they finally won a national title for the first time in modern history. So who is that next team? Is it Michigan? Is it A&M, who I hate with a passion because they always underperform, and I'm sick and fucking tired of hearing about their recruits and their coach and them going 9-3 and 10-2 every year. Is it Michigan, A&M? Who's that next team? Like, all right, you need to win a title. Is it Notre Dame? Where it's like, you've been good for a long time. Let's finally win something.
It's either Notre Dame or A&M, and it's probably A&M with all the hype that they've had with the money and the recruits, whatever. Not to jump the shark, but it probably won't be this year. But starting next year, I think A&M's in title contention, and they should be. And obviously with the SEC West, they're going to have battles on their hands. But it's one of those two. Notre Dame's been close with the new coach. We'll see. But Jimbo has everyone behind him down there. But if they go 9-3 again, I tell you what, there's some people talking.
I'm going to preface this by saying I don't know if I truly believe it's going to happen anytime soon. But of the teams not mentioned, I guess I'd go like Penn State in the Big Ten. I think they're the only one that can consistently recruit as well as Ohio State. And I guess if they get the right coordinators and have the right quarterback, they could do it. I mean, I wouldn't bank on it, but I think they would be more likely than just about anyone else in the Big Ten or the SEC that's not been mentioned already.
Marcus, anything?
I think it's USC. I think Notre Dame and Texas A&M are absolutely in this conversation as well. But since we don't have David yet on the soapbox talking about how great USC is going to be this year, aside from the name, I mean, look at the type of roster they're building. Look at the type of personnel they have, and tell me they're not going to be at the top of the Pac-12 for the time that they're going to be in the conference here very, very soon. So I just think they're that next team.
Is next year their last year?
Yep.
So it's like, okay, this year might be too early. We'll see what happens. I'm sure they'll be the favorite next year, but it's then like after that, all right, then we'll see what happens.
It might be one more after next, but it's either 2 or 3 at most. And no, they are not the favorites in the Pac-12 this year, but they will be next year.
So we got that.
What's interesting to me.
Yes. Yeah.
What's interesting to me is we talked about, I'm sure we will get to this topic before it's all said and done, but okay, we're talking about these mega conferences. They're going to be here in 2024, we think, and the playoff is not going to be expanded by then. And so we're going to have this 14 playoff, and we're going to have the mega conferences, and it's not really built for that. And it's going to be an interesting logjam, I think, at the top of those leagues when you're trying to figure out, okay, well, now we've got these 2 mega conferences, and should we just, how do we split up the 4 spots to those teams?
Hot take alert. The expanded playoff, even though it looks like it's on the back burner, it's on the back burner. Once these super conferences get actually fully formed, they're going to go headlong. I bet you it'll be a 12-teamer by 2025 or 2026.
And let's say, I don't know how they're going to do the divisions in the SEC, but, they've a few times gotten 2 teams in. And if you had a team like Oklahoma who gets in there once in a while, let's say the only loss Oklahoma has is to one of those 2 top teams, but they don't make a conference title game, what do you do with Oklahoma, a 1-loss team? Are you going to put 3 teams in the SEC in along with an Ohio State? Or we'll see how that figures out. See, I don't think the 14 playoffs going to be around. Maybe 4 or 5 more years. But once we get to that,
I
you're
mean,
gonna get
it's supposed to be here till 2025 and maybe even 2026 if they can't get their crap together here. In 2025 is when the contract's supposed to run out. And I don't know. It's just we could have one hellacious year of this 14 playoff before we finally get our crap figured out and we get to the 12 teams and we're moving on.
Lots of fist fights between old white men.
Well, yeah. That's
yeah,
what college football is built on.
Alabama and Georgia, East and West. Anybody not like those two teams? Anybody think A&M can challenge A&M? I like Kentucky in the East. I like them. I don't think they're going to beat Georgia, but I think they've got them at home. I like Kentucky as much as anybody else. SEC title game picks. Any dark horses and who comes out of this conference?
The East is super interesting. The East is very, very interesting. Georgia's still a class of that division, but I don't think the gap isn't as huge as some people think it might be. Do I think they're going to win it? Yes, but Tennessee's going to be a lot better. Tennessee's going to be a lot of fun. Florida with Napier, we'll see in year one what they can do. Kentucky's been right there. Ultimately, I think Georgia winds up, but I don't think they're playing that SEC title game without a loss to the regular season, which complicates them getting in potentially with a loss to Bama or A&M. But I think I'll be in Tuscaloosa October 7th for Alabama and A&M. Everyone's kind of hyped that up already to be the game of the year. I don't see Bama losing that game. A&M's obviously super talented, but Bama is quite rightfully probably the favorite and would be interesting. But I think Bama wins the SEC yet again.
Charlie.
I think that Georgia's going to win the East. I think Alabama, interestingly, has some kind of tricky games. I think they're going to win the West. I think their most likely loss is at Ole Miss. If I remember right, a week after playing at LSU, they have to play at Ole Miss. And that would be, to me, the most likely game for them to lose. I still think they win the West, though. And I just don't think a year after losing to Georgia in the national title game that Alabama's going to lose to Georgia. I mean, I think they'll probably lose once in the regular season because that's just how it goes. But I think they're definitely going to win the SEC title and be like an angry revenge mode Nick Saban team most of the year.
Charlie's right about them having some tricky games. Looking at it too, because that week after they play A&M at home in already the biggest game of the year, they go to Tennessee. I know they've killed Tennessee forever, but Tennessee isn't shit anymore. There are a few road games that they could potentially slip up in.
You got Arkansas. They got to go to Arkansas in the fifth week.
Got to go to Texas week 2. Fucking hook 'em orange.
I would like the odds of A&M beating Alabama if they did not beat them last year. Where right. I do not think they're going to be able to sneak up on them.
Right.
I need to have this on the record. I mentioned some of this to Mr. Travis Crins last week, but I have made a couple plays on the season.
Yeah.
Nice. I have, and this I talked with Schottenkirk. He's not on the same side as me necessarily.
Oh, Christ. You bet on LSU?
No, I bet on Auburn under 5.5 wins.
Sorry.
I think they're going to miss out on a bowl game. I think their coach is going to get fired. I think it's clear it's not a fit down there for Brian Harsin at Auburn. You look at their schedule, plenty of losses in there. They got Penn State early in the season, and, I mean, they play in the SEC West. So I think they land there at those, 4 or 5 wins, and they don't.
Auburn might be the most fire-happy school in all of college football. They will have no problem getting rid of someone if they lose a couple of games early when he's on the hot seat already.
They have Mercer and San Jose State to start the season. Then they have Penn State at home, Missouri, LSU at home. So 5 straight home games to start the year. Then at Georgia, at Mississippi, Arkansas, at Mississippi State, Texas A&M, Western Kentucky, and end at Alabama. So
that's a pretty tough closing slate.
You got to win 3 of those other games there.
That's right. They got to get. They got 3 guaranteed wins probably on the schedule. So they got to come up with. Yeah, they got to come up with a couple more if they're going to get to 6.
And you like Alabama over Georgia?
I do. Yeah, I think Alabama over Georgia. I mean, I don't know. I'm a little. I don't think Texas A&M is going to go to Alabama and win during the regular season. But you look at their schedule; it's very possible they are a 1-loss team sitting there on the outside of the SEC title game. So that could make the playoff picture interesting. And I like Alabama.
Stacking, can you hear me? Can you see us? Stacking's in the waiting room here. You can see us? Okay, what do you think Stacking's name is?
Oh God.
LeVar Ball fan?
Big baller. Stacking.
We're right around that.
Triple B.
Triple B.
There he is.
Hey guys.
Stacking.
A lot has happened since last time we had the show. One of the major things is Stacking and the Big Baller are in good graces at this point because we've had some advancements on that front.
Yes,
Yeah, Charlie, tell us what happened here. Our friend Nathan Stacking hates LeVar Ball.
Used to. Now
we invested some barbecue money through the Cameo app and got Mr. Ball himself to give Stacking a shout out. And Stacking, at least outwardly, was very, very surprised by it, which was good. It would have been very upsetting to me if he was just like, "Yeah, I knew you were going to do this." I've been like, "Wow, I don't know how you figured this out, Stacking." But yeah, and a fun time was had by all. And Stacking, I mean, I'm not saying that he's like a diehard LeVar Ball fan now, but is they're in better graces now than they were 6 months ago.
I love your blog, The Stack. We still, I think, don't know for sure if he is saying blog or block. It's got to be blog, but boy, you can merge it into both.
You're making it sound like he's from Nigeria.
Well,
isn't that how it sounded to you?
Or English.
The Stack.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Western.
And I love your style. Keep doing your thing, dog.
That's more like it.
Well, you show Kelsey. What did she say?
She
know who he is.
She laughed. Yes, I told her about it, and she enjoyed it. My mom thought it was funny.
She laughed nervously.
Yep. Everyone that I've shown it to so far has found it to be delightful.
Money well spent.
Yes.
Charlie Hildebrand will be a good one. An instant lounge Hall of Fame moment.
Oh yeah,
we've had a lot of barbecue money that's paid off. That's paid off the most handsomely, though. That had the best dividends.
Yep.
Brian Kelly at LSU. What an odd fit. We'll see how that goes. I don't know. Usually he does pretty well wherever he goes. We'll see how that goes.
They're gonna turn into what A&M's been the last few years. They're going 8-4, 9-3. People are gonna still love him. So fuck him.
We're all in agreement here. Alabama over Georgia. SEC. You know, I told you last week I like Kentucky. My dark horse, not really a dark horse, but are you in agreement? Alabama over Georgia in this conference?
Yep. I think the couple of things here. I think South Carolina is going to be vastly improved with Spencer Rattler. I just am intrigued by South Carolina, I should say.
As long as it's 2 years ago, Spencer Rattler, and not last year, Spencer Rattler.
Yep. The team, though, that I am most intrigued by, and this will, I think, make Marcus very happy to hear, it's Tennessee in the East. I think Tennessee is going to put up a ton of points. I do think Kentucky's very good as well, should be watched for. I'm curious to see how Georgia kind of revamps everything. But, I mean, their schedule is pretty easy compared to most others. Like, I think they do get Tennessee at home. Let me look at this checks notes here. And, yes, they have Tennessee at home. It's going to be that November 19th game that I think Georgia slips up with against Kentucky. But Tennessee is the team I'm really looking forward to this year in the East. But I do have Georgia coming out.
Let me get some more amplification on Tennessee. Not just this year. I agree that they're going to be really fun to watch. If we want to put a team on alert for the next few years of being on the come, finally back on the come, it's your Tennessee Volunteers. They're fucking coming. Next couple of years, they're going to win the East a couple times. They're coming. I put it in fucking blood. They're coming.
Tennessee, look out!
Play Rocky Top. I'll pull it up here quick.
Big Ten, Ohio State. They finally lost to Michigan. Harbaugh finally got it done, got to that playoff, and then won the next week. What was it, Iowa? They played Iowa the next week?
Yep.
and one
How
handily.
they won the conference. And I got
Curb
the
stomped
Northern-
them.
They got killed versus Georgia. Georgia ran them off the field. So Ohio State the favorite again. We talked about Penn State and Michigan. They got Wisconsin and Iowa on the other side. And any reason to believe Ohio State doesn't? Anybody not like Ohio State? It's a clean sweep.
They're gonna kill everybody they play until they get to the playoffs.
I think
They
it's
do have Ohio State. I think the biggest thing is that what held them back last year was their defense, and if their defense isn't improved, it could be a problem. But
They got
they made a change. I forget who the defensive coordinator is.
Jim Knowles from Oklahoma State. It's
Yeah,
the best hire of the offseason.
They don't even have to be dramatically better. If they're decently better on defense, I think that with a possible Heisman Trophy winner quarterback, I think that they will. I don't know if they'll be undefeated. I think they're going to win the West, though, and I do not think they're going to lose to Michigan 2 years in a row.
They're beating Notre Dame by 3 touchdowns week 1, too.
I'm not sure I'm on that. I think Ohio State will win. I think Ohio State will be 12-0 at the end of the regular season. I think the one I would maybe guarantee a 3-touchdown win on is Michigan. They are not going to lose to Michigan this year. You can tell it bothered them a lot. Obviously, the game's in Columbus. So that's the one I feel pretty confident to take to the bank. Notre Dame, Ohio State is an interesting game, but I don't think Notre Dame's going to win that. So Ohio State,
rough first game for Marcus Freeman, being like,
Yeah.
"Hey, guess what? You have to play Ohio State on the road."
I'm going back to November 19th here. It might be a sign of things to come here, but Ohio State plays at Maryland the week before Michigan.
Whoa!
And I'm
What?
telling you right now,
Jesus Christ.
I'm telling you right now.
No, come on.
Hey, just wait here. I'm not saying it.
he's not saying it.
But-
Of course he's not saying it.
But it will not shock me if Ohio State loses that game to Maryland. That's the trap game on their schedule. That's the only thing I'm saying. The trap game on their schedule.
Do the Dolphins have a bye week so they can have
Stack.
their brother?
It's stack. You might not be the betting type, but I'm going to give you a big number. I'll lay 27.5 points in that game.
Woo!
That is a big number.
Oh, well, I gotta wait and see if
Okay. That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
The offer's only good tonight.
I cannot take that because if Tua's brother goes down, then I'm not even going to consider.
That's got 63-24 written all over it.
Ohio State's road games this year at Michigan State, at Penn State, at Northwestern, at Maryland, all in the second half of the season. I don't think they lose any of those. I mean, Michigan State and Penn State are kind of those classic, the road games they might have trouble with.
All I'm saying is if Ohio State loses a game this year,
It's gonna be that one.
my bet is it would be at Maryland. I do not think they're going to lose. I have them at 12-0, but I believe Maryland is a trap game.
I would go with one of those Michigan State, Penn States if they're going to lose, but not that one there. So we got that. Marcus, I talked to Nathan last week, and Gophers have been on a decent run here. Are they ever going to get tired of going like 8-4? Because they shouldn't. I mean, they had a 10-win season a couple of years ago. Unbelievable.
11 win. Get it right. 11 wins.
With the bowl win, yeah.
Unbelievable. They want to beat Auburn. 8 wins is very good for this team. They may be an 8-4 season coming up here. They could ever win that division for once, that'd be good. But do you think folks are satisfied that, hey, you know what, it can turn very easily in the wrong way, but they should be good here.
They should be good here. They've got a lot of pieces back this year. I think 8 wins should be the floor for this team based on their schedule is relatively manageable. They do have to go to Penn State. They do have to go to Michigan State. They don't play Ohio State. They don't play Michigan. And obviously, they have the season. They play Wisconsin. They play Iowa, not in that order. But, they have not beaten Iowa since Fleck has been there. They have beaten Wisconsin a couple times, which is kind of surprising because the previous coaches were the ones that couldn't do that. I think when Fleck was hired, the whole idea was, get us to that 8-9 wins every year. And he's pretty much doing that. So I hope people aren't too jaded to believe that, this is, not good or whatever. I mean, now what is tough is when you lose to Bowling Green, you lose some of these games that they've lost or had extreme trouble with. You go back to the year that they were 11-2 and who they played. I mean, they barely beat South Dakota State. They barely beat Fresno State. They barely beat Georgia Southern. They very well could have been 7-5 that season or whatever. So there's just this wide variety of inconsistency. This should be the last run with Tanner Morgan. They've got a lot of good running backs. Receiving core is decent. Defense should be solid. So let's see him make a run at it. I mean, the next step should be win the division. The division is very winnable. Again, like we talked about, who knows what the Big Ten West is going to look like in 2024? If it's shaped any way like it is now, it's going to get tougher because you're going to add potentially USC and UCLA. So get to it right now. I don't think Gopher fans are tired of PJ Fleck. I think the rest of the country is probably tired of PJ Fleck, and I certainly understand why. He's a lot, but we'll see what happens.
The West is more wide open this year than it has been in a while. I think there's 4 teams that have legitimate cases with the way the schedules play out. The Gophers being one with Tanner Morgan back for seemingly his 12th season with the program. If the Gophers are going to win the West, it's got to be this year. They should be in contention. I'm not quite sure they get it done.
Charlie, what's your expectations for the Huskers? Is it bowl game or bust? Is that enough to save Scott Frost's job here? If he goes 6-6, is that good enough? And what's the quarterback situation? And they're another team that very easily could have won, 7-8 games last year pretty easily.
I think if they make a bowl game, that they will keep Frost for at least one more year. If they don't, I think he'll get fired. In terms of the quarterback, I know they've got the Texas transfer, Casey Thompson. Nebraska trying to pull a Michigan State from last year with a whole bunch of transfers to have a big season. I think it's basically a one-game season for Nebraska, and it's the first game against Northwestern on the road in Ireland next week. That if they win, I think they can get to 6 wins. Their schedule's a lot easier. They replace Michigan State and Ohio State with Rutgers and Indiana. And if they get to – but I think it's really going to be if they beat Northwestern, they find a way to get to 6, maybe 7. But if they lose to Northwestern, which I think is a very strong possibility because other than 1 or 2 games, those have always gone down to the wire. And if they lose to Northwestern, I think they're going to go like 2-10 and Frost gets fired before the end of September. Like it gets ugly really, really, really fast.
Their end of the season is brutal.
A couple things with Nebraska. The over under win total in Vegas is 7.5, and there's a shit ton of money on the over. It's 7.5. I'm looking at the schedule. They're going to start 6-2 or 7-1. Take that to the bank.
But then they got.
I hope so. The only thing is that if they lose to Northwestern,
right,
I fully expect them to turn around and lose to North Dakota the next week.
Yeah, I feel like we had this exact same conversation last year with Illinois in the first week of the season.
Yeah, we probably did.
And we said if they win that game, they could start 3-0 going into I think it would have been Oklahoma. And you look at it, they could do the same thing this year if they beat Northwestern in that first game. But if the North Dakota game is legitimately a trap game either way, because for some reason they're playing on the Saturday after they come back from Ireland. So to me, that's insane that game's even on the schedule. You better beat North Dakota. And yeah, I would be on the under on that. I do potentially see them making a bowl game. I hope they do. I like this Scott Frost experiment. It's funny to me, especially with all the vomiting from this last week. That's a big thing to talk about. But yeah, I hadn't really paid any attention to the end of the schedule. They have Minnesota at home. They're at Michigan, Wisconsin, and at Iowa in the last 4 games. So you better get to getting before it turns ugly at the end.
Let me call. I can't call my
one, but definitely not more than 1 though, and probably not even 1.
Allow me to call my big shot of the night. Nebraska is in the Big Ten title game this year.
Holy cow!
I hope you're right. If so, I will be very happy in Sheldon this year.
How many times will the offensive linemen throw up during a game
15,
this year?
20, 50, all the time.
20 times. That's how hard they're working.
I was
They
working
were
hard to
the
get
most
these
unlocked. They're the most unlocked 3-9 team ever last year. The talent, the schedule is relatively favorable. If they don't start at least
There he is,
6-2,
the debut. You're gonna do
We
a
have a-
Lion King type deal?
We have a guest picker here.
Here he is.
Jason Samuel.
He
what
loves
do
the
you-
Vols too, wearing that orange. Go Vols.
Yeah. Yep. Well, he's also.
If you
It's
like
also
Nebraska
Tigger.
to win the West, poop your pants.
Ask him what his thoughts on NIL are.
What do you like Clemson this year? Have we talked the ACC yet? No.
What's he wearing there? You got an orange. I like orange. So what's
We got it's Tigger. So
Howard Tigers. He loves them.
Yeah.
Howard Tigers.
he's,
Yeah.
we're 6 weeks? 6 weeks in here?
nope. We are 1 month. 1 month.
Everybody's frozen for me.
1 month. Hello.
Welcome to the world,
Here
Jason.
we go.
All right.
So now we're unfrozen. There we go.
Yes. Yep. We are 1 month old as of a couple
1
of days
month old.
ago. So yep. Yep. We are.
We
have
mentioned
a
he's pretty
full
long
head of
stint,
hair.
maybe a couple weeks.
Yep.
Couple weeks. So how's he compared? He said he was. He's not. He's quieter than Noah. He sleeps. He's good.
He sleeps.
Everything's good.
Thank God he sleeps. Thank God he sleeps. Oh, there's the Lion King reference there. Yeah, he sleeps. He was 10 pounds, 8 ounces. The pediatricians that we talked to were like, yeah, he was probably closer to 42 weeks rather than 41-1. So big kid, but he's good. He's healthy. And again, just he sleeps. Noah didn't. So I will take 4 to 5 hours of sleep straight a night with him.
Is he going to be
What-
a guard or
and
a tackle for South Dakota State?
Linebacker 2044. Oh no, that's the NFL draft 2044. I will say
What do you make of the large size of your kids? Because you're not huge. Kelsey's normal. Your family, how and we'll see how these kids grow up. Maybe they'll be 6 feet tall and they'll be fine.
I tell you what, Noah's got such strong
Good milk. Is it good
feet.
milk?
Well, I don't know. It's well, for Noah, he's got such strong feet. So I think we're going to be like into soccer, maybe field goal
Hey,
kicking.
kicker.
He's got a good arm on him, so he could be a pitcher. We're looking at all that, but he does have the size, could be a linebacker too. So we don't know where it's all going to go. In terms of why these are so big, I don't know. It's just we just make big babies. Apparently, that's
And
what it
any chance
is.
he can throw for the Mount Vernon Mustangs in the amateur tournament in a couple years? Any chance?
Yes, there's a chance.
Work
There's a
on that
chance.
breaking ball.
Yep.
Is there? I don't think there's an. Is there an age limit in amateur? I'm not sure.
An age
I don't-
minimum? I don't think so. They let
I don't
they,
think
they
If you
let,
can play, they'll let you play.
let VFW players on the team, and they're 15, 16 years old. So what's a month old?
Doesn't say anywhere in the rule book that a dog can't play basketball.
That's right.
Air
I
dog
don't-
rules.
I will start the knuckleball with him tomorrow.
Wow. Save
Right.
his arm. We all like Ohio State to win this conference.
Not David, Nebraska.
Well, he likes them to
To
win
win the West, fuckface.
They're not winning the damn thing. We like Alabama. We like Ohio State. Let's go to the ACC. Miami maybe is the story. We'll see what the new coach does there. Clemson was kind of a disappointment last year. They still had a good year, but their quarterback was awful. Defense was excellent. And we had Pittsburgh. That was a huge surprise. Does Clemson come back here, win this conference? I mean, like Miami to maybe next year to do something. David, how hard are you on Miami?
How hard am I on Miami moving forward? Very. And this year they should be awfully interesting. Tyler Van Dyke and Cristobal's got them rolling. I don't think they're going to win the conference this year. In your Pittsburgh vein, it's somebody kind of coming out of nowhere and having a great year. I think the ACC, and I think the ACC in particular in the Atlantic with Clemson, I think it comes down to October 1st. It's the game's at Clemson, but if anybody is sleeping on NC State this year, they can get the fuck out of here right now because that's a legitimate good top 15 team this year.
I'm feeling my thunder shot in Kirk.
They're gonna be in that game. They might win that game, and if they do, they should potentially. I mean, that as stupid as it might sound, NC State is a very sneaky playoff team.
Charlie, who do you know who North Carolina State plays right away?
I can probably tell you pretty quick here.
I know. I don't look. Just venture a guess.
Oh no, off the top of my head, I do not.
At East Carolina. And as we know,
oh, that's right. We did talk. I remember that they played. I didn't remember that was week 1 though.
Yeah, they're playing North Carolina. I agree with Schottenkirk, but I'm also going to mention that it comes down to potentially November 19th again. Clemson hosts Miami. So
what a goddamn November 19th is going to be.
It's good.
When did Kennedy get shot?
November 22nd.
22nd? So 22nd?
Yep.
Right around there. Yeah. Is that Veterans Day? Is the Veterans Day the 19th?
No, I think the Veterans Day is
the
like the 11th.
Yeah, that's right. Right around that time. Let's see. Charlie, Miami might be good here in a little bit. USC might be good. We think Alabama and Ohio State continue to be good. Come up with whether it's for you or whether it's for college football, like the perfect playoff in a couple of years, a 4-team playoff. Is it Alabama, Miami, Ohio State? What is the perfect playoff here?
Ooh, I like this question. So we're probably going to need someone from 4 different regions to get the whole country involved.
I can weigh in on this. It's Pitt, Minnesota, Tennessee, and Colorado.
That's a good start. I'm not going to pick like the usual suspects from the last 5 or 6 years, but to like with prestige
or Notre Dame.
I think it would be like Michigan, Florida State, Texas, and USC. I think that would be like we've pretty much got each region and more or less conference covered. And they're prestigious schools, although I don't think any of them made the playoffs. I mean, other than Michigan last year in the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I mean, Texas. I mean, we're waiting on Texas. We've been waiting on Texas for decades now. So, ACC winners, Marcus. We got a big NC State contingent on you, like Clemson.
I would love to pick the rabid dogs from the Wolfpack of NC State, but I think Clemson's bound for a bounce back year. Very weird year in the ACC last year. I'm always on board with Pitt, Wake Forest. I mean, the weirder the better. I do agree. I think Miami. I mean, we talk about them in the same vein as Texas. I mean, as a team that's probably going to be getting back. Maybe not yet this year. So yeah, sign me up. Clemson wins this conference.
And I'd like to say, screw the U.
Wow,
thank you.
Nice.
I've got Miami in the conference title game. I've also got NC State in the conference title game. I don't think I have them going to the playoff, but I think NC State has a year kind of like Michigan did last year, where it's just everything lining up. They beat Clemson, win the conference title, and it's like going to be – and I hope they savor it because it's probably going to be as good as it gets for like 20 years then.
What do we got? They got a quarterback, a defense. What do we heard about NC State here?
The biggest thing is that defense. The quarterback is very good in his own right, and he's been around for a couple of years. He got hurt for a little bit last year. Devin Leary. I think they have either 9 or 10 returning starters on defense, and several of which are going to be NFL guys. It's just a veteran group. They won 8 games in 2020. They won 9 games last year. Most of the impact guys are back. The schedule, we talked about the game against East Carolina to start, and then they have 3 games at home that they should take care of business in the non-conference, and they go their opening. The opening tee shot in ACC play is at Clemson. So if the show me something game, that's the ultimate show me something. And even if they were to lose that game, the Clemson defense, we'll see if the quarterback improves or whatever. I mean, it's going to come down to October 1st, and begrudgingly, I'm going to take NC State to win that division as well.
Okay, can I just ask a question here on the divisions? Is this the last year for divisions in the ACC and the Pac-12? Is that correct? Because aren't they're doing away with divisions here and just taking the top 2 teams, aren't they?
I think.
Yeah.
That's after
right.
This year, 2023. So this is the last year that they're taking.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Each division. Okay.
For me, the big thing with NC State, which I will first say, I did not get Phil Steele this year. I got
Come
Pick
on.
Six previews, because according to the one place that ranks them all, they've been the most accurate over like the last 12 years. But according to Pick Six previews in the conference, NC State has the best quarterback, the best receiver crew, the second best defensive line, the best linebackers, and the best defensive backs. So that's why I'm going NC State.
10 returning starters on defense, according to Mr. Steele.
Schottenkirk, you like NC State to win this thing?
I do. I like NC State over Miami in the ACC title game.
So you got NC State and Nebraska in the playoff. How about that?
Yeah. Oh, you a funny guy.
I'll be honest, I have not done my ACC preview yet here, so we'll just go.
How dare you?
We'll go Clemson over the Hurricanes.
Couple Clemsons, couple Wolfpacks. There we go.
Can I just point out North Carolina's schedule here, because this is a real oddity for a Power 5 school. They start with Florida A&M on August 27th, so that's the upcoming week. And then
Saturday,
and they're at App State and at Georgia State. I don't know if any Power 5 school has ever gone back-to-back road games at Sunbelt schools. Like it's really weird that
Mac Brown. Good job.
I'll tell you what, if Mac Brown and UNC lose at App State, which is definitely possible, Mac might retire again.
Okay, I'm done.
Sorry, Adam. I got a plane to catch. I got to get out of here.
Yeah, I gotta be on the ABC halftime show tonight. So I'm out of here. Me and Jesse Palmer. The one I like is we've got the Backyard Brawl back. We got Pitt hosting West Virginia on the opening. The opening Thursday of the season.
College game day going to be there.
And then they go to Western Michigan. What an interesting first 3 games. We're not going to be home against Western Michigan. We're going to be on the road. So who is it that plays Charlotte this year? Don't they host like a Big Ten team or something?
Yeah, let me get it pulled up here.
Isn't it Illinois or somebody?
I thought
Maryland.
Okay. That was the other one that's kind of like, who the hell scheduled that? I mean, I shouldn't talk. Minnesota played at New Mexico State a few years ago, and that's pretty dumb. So
I agree, and I would second that by saying that Nebraska should not be opening the year in Ireland. I don't know over that.
Big 12, you got a team in Baylor who is coming on strong.
Can I just cut you off for a second? Sorry.
Yeah.
How long do you think before this next weekend, this week 0, is the actual start of the season where we have pretty much everybody playing? Because if we get into the expanded playoff thing, we're going to need the extra week anyway. That way you're 2 weeks ahead of the NFL. I think that's going to happen pretty soon. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say once these conferences get settled, I could see that.
I think it's weird that ESPN doesn't have a game at all next week. CBS Sports Network has a quadruple header. Fox has one, and then you have just the rest.
Yeah, I would like to take this moment to ride for my favorite college football website this time of year, LSUfootball.net. They have the best schedule, TV schedule to look at. Go LSUfootball.net, the best. Also, God's Time, Central Time. They're all about it.
Good. .net. It's a .net. Big 12.
.net you look at all year.
We'll see what happens with Oklahoma here. See their coaching change, how that affects things. Oklahoma State always pretty good. Baylor looks pretty good. Do we Marcus, do we believe in Baylor that they can maybe become the powerhouse of this conference now?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, they sort of jumped forward last year with Dave Aranda. They look like they've kind of got a good core. I mean, this is interesting with Oklahoma, right? To see what ends up coming forward. They did kind of salvage the recruiting class in a decent way. They finally have gotten Brent Venables out of, brought him home. I think Oklahoma is probably my favorite to win this league. You still got Oklahoma State lurking. What the hell is Texas going to be? It's an interesting conference to me. And I mean, let's maybe lean towards if there is a I can't remember where I read this, but it was on Twitter. Somebody posited the idea that if Kansas State has another solid year and Scott Frost is fired at Nebraska, that you would see him maybe go to Nebraska. Chris Kleiman, I should say. Chris Kleiman.
Charlie, is the Big 12 the third best conference? Or is it the ACC?
I think the ACC is the third best conference, but I think the Big 12 will be more fun to watch this year because I think it's going to be more wide open. I think my picks for who plays in the conference title game won't be that crazy, but I think there's a more realistic chance for teams to really make a run towards the top and especially to get that second spot in the Big 12 title game.
Baylor, Oklahoma State. That was a good finish, good title game last year. Oklahoma State, another team that's like, all right, you're going to do something here. You're going to win this conference. You're gonna make a next step. Probably not.
I mean, they were one play away from maybe possibly one time being in the playoffs. So
that comeback in Notre Dame was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a good deal. Triple B.
I also want to say that earlier today I watched the top 25 worst plays of 2021 college football. And I had forgotten, or I was working and didn't see it. But last year we had Iowa State against Clemson in the Cheez-It Bowl. And Brock Purdy had 2 of the worst 25 plays of the year last year, including the one where the ball was tipped up and then he batted it forward and it got picked off. So
I'd completely forgotten about that.
I had forgotten all about that too. So Iowa State, welcome back to the shitter.
Yeah. Good luck there. We'll see. Matt Campbell, we'll see. Someone like him would be like, all right, now was the time to move, and now we'll see what happened. He stayed. So
Well, he really loves Ames.
loves it. Who wouldn't? Stacking, seemed like Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Baylor. Pick one of those two, I guess.
Oh, I'll take Baylor and Oklahoma State. I have Oklahoma with 4 losses. I think it's going to be tough just to replenish all of those recruits that they lost. You know, Caleb Williams and
Schottenkirk had a stroke at 9:03 this afternoon.
Yep, it's not good. You know what? Maybe they'll be 9-3. 8-4, 9-3. I'm throwing a loss at Iowa State there. I'm going to give a dark horse here, and I'm going out on a limb with this, but I think West Virginia could be sneaky good this year.
Hey, look out!
Is
Handling
that
John Denver right now in country roads?
Is that a good? That was a good. Schottenkirk.
I haven't decided yet. Your take's still you're still in the process.
They get JT Daniels from Georgia, and that's kind of the thing that's selling me on it. Dante Stills is good on the defensive line. It always sucks going to Morgantown, especially for like the Texas Techs of the world and whatnot. So I think West Virginia could be kind of a sneaky 8-4 team. I don't think they're in title contention, but I think they could be sneaky good this year.
They are picked.
If you would have had me guess, all Big 12 teams, I probably would have forgotten West Virginia was even in the conference. Like, oh yeah, I guess they are. For them,
I think the ceiling on West Virginia is 6-6.
Oh, well, there we go.
That's tough.
I look at the fact that they do have to go to Lubbock this year. That's tough, but I mean Texas Tech, I don't find them to be all that.
Well, yes, they have to play at Pitt week 1. They play at your Virginia Tech. They play at Texas. They play at Oklahoma State.
Yeah, those are all 4 losses that I have.
Okay.
I have
We're just picking who we like for the guaranteed rate bowl here. That's all.
Yeah, sure. I'm just saying. I think West Virginia has a chance to be good this year with JT Daniels.
They'll be fun to watch, but as far as a complete team, and I don't know. I don't want to shit on your West Virginia parade.
I gave Texas a 7-5 record with them losing at Kansas just because I wanted to have some fun with it. So I actually have West Virginia above both Oklahoma and Texas.
If you want to make a bold pick Kansas to get out of the basement in the Big 12 for the first time in 7 years.
I haven't
win 4 games.
I have winning 5.
Let's go.
I have winning 5.
Kansas on the come.
Kansas winning 4 games. And the opposite vein of stacking with Texas and Oklahoma, the ultimate fuck you, which I think is going to happen, and I cannot wait. I think Oklahoma plays Texas in the Big 12 title game.
One more time.
Wow. Okay.
And you, the red, you're on the red.
2-10, just for the record.
Nebraska, NC State. I think you like Oklahoma to win this conference.
Until last week, and Texas lost their starting left guard, one of their starting receivers. Okay. I had Texas in my playoff. I think Texas wins this conference still, even with those losses.
Shit, we're ending the run of the red. You got a Texas.
Burnt orange this time.
Marcus likes Oklahoma, I believe.
Yes.
I like Baylor. Triple B likes Baylor.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie.
I've got Oklahoma and Baylor with Oklahoma winning.
A couple Oklahomas.
To me,
Pac-12,
the most interesting Big 12 thing is going to be, as a Nebraska fan, when they left the Big 12 and people weren't happy. I would imagine it's going to be even worse for Oklahoma and Texas in road games this year. I think that will be the most interesting thing, is how they fare on the roads when everyone's like, actually, should we try to murder someone from this other team? And then they got fans being like, no, we'll go to prison. Don't do it. Let's just yell mean things and throw beer bottles on the field at them.
That'll be fun. Big 12, always a fun conference. Pac-12, not very fun. You got USC. They made some noise. You got Oregon's always a safe pick. You got Utah. They're a top 10 team. They went to the Rose Bowl. They had great helmets. Schottenkirk, where do we stand here on the Pac-12? Looks like Utah. Can Utah have some success here long term?
I think so. As far as this season goes with Utah, I think they are the favorites in the Pac-12 and deservedly so. They go to the Swamp week 1, September 3rd at Florida. That's a very, very fun game. Very fun game. If Utah wants a shot at a playoff, obviously that's a game they got to have right out of the gate. The conference schedule is relatively forgiving. They get USC at home. They do have to go to Oregon late in the year. I don't think Oregon's going to be anything special this year, though. October 15th, Utah plays USC. As far as being established, Kyle Whittingham's been there forever. That defense is pretty legit. They got a couple of running backs. That game's in Salt Lake. I think Utah wins that game, and I think Utah wins the Pac-12 this year.
Is this the Urban Meyer Bowl week 1? Utah,
yeah.
Florida.
It is now.
I hope he's there. Oh no, there we go. Zay, you like Utah? Stack, and you like Utah?
I think I do. I think that the Pac-12 South is going to be one of the best divisions to watch this year. Not from top to bottom, but I think the top 3 teams, Utah, USC, and UCLA, are going to be fantastic. I like UCLA's schedule is so damn easy. I can see them easily going. I have them at 10-2. I have USC at 10-2, but I have Utah at 11-1, and I have Utah getting out of the South, and I have them winning the Pac-12 as well. I agree with Schottenkirk.
Your 2 losses for UCLA are Utah and Oregon, I presume, or Utah and USC.
You know what? I threw a curveball in there. Oregon and a what the fuck kind of loss to Arizona State.
Interesting.
Schottenkirk, for USC, what are they missing? They got a quarterback. He seems to be very good. What don't they have?
The lack of depth on defense. They are not going to be great on defense unless they get a lot of young guys to step up. Defensive line in particular, especially on the edge position, they have just a few scholarship guys that are healthy right now. They're going to offensively, they're going to do what Lincoln Riley does. They're going to score points. They're going to score 40, 50, but they're going to be in games against better teams that actually play defense. I think, can they win 10 games? Yes, they can. I mean, would it shock anybody if they did? No. But at Stanford, right away, week 2, they could play Oregon State. The conference game, Oregon State's been a little bit better. That's still a game in September. They have to do go to Utah. They play Notre Dame at the end of the year. I think that the lack of depth right now on defense catches up a little bit. I think they 8-9 wins. And honestly, and I've been the one that's oversold them for the last 10 years, and it's blown up my face time and time again. No one should be surprised if they win 10 or 11 games and they potentially even win that division if the offense is truly the juggernaut that it might be. It's not this year. It's next year and going forward. It's the wrecking ball's coming.
It is going to be here soon. Charlie.
Soon, if Drew's watching, soon means anytime in the next 72 years.
Drew, all right. Charlie, what's your Pac-12 assessment here? Looks like I shit on them for good reason, I think. But Utah, all right. Utah, you got something there, top 10 team, and USC looks a year away.
Like Stackin said, I think the top of the Pac-12 South will be fun and entertaining to watch this year. I think Oregon wins the North. No one overly excites me in the North too much. I do think that USC is going to win the South. I'm trying to think of, I guess the best comparison I can think is I think they will be like, what was it, Pete Carroll's like second year at USC when they had Carson Palmer and Palomalu, where I think they like start kind of slow, lose 1 or 2 games early, and we're like, oh, wait, I guess USC's not going to do it this year, but they catch fire by the time they play Utah and roll the rest of the way to finish like 10-2 with a division title, and then they play Oregon in the Pac-12 title game. So a little bit of a slow start and like, oh, I don't know what's going on. And then by the end of the regular season, we're like, yep, this is what we thought that USC would look like in the Pac-12.
The defense, honestly, if it improves at all with all the transfers that they brought in, they've got a linebacker from Bama, they got a defensive end rush guy from Auburn, Corey Foreman, the number 1 recruit in 2020, should hopefully be healthy. They got a safety that they transferred from Ohio State. If they mesh at all and they're just average, absolutely they can win 10 or 11 games. But like Charlie said, early in the season, I think they're going to have 1 or 2 what the hell losses.
Marcus, how good's Colorado going to be?
Better, but still probably not that great, honestly. Hopefully they make a bowl game. That would be probably an accomplishment considering where they've been. But they do have to play at Minnesota this year. So my
Get shit on again by the Ghosts.
My allegiances will be tested again, but of course the tie always goes to the Gophers.
3 wins this year for the Buffs.
I like the idea of Minnesota and Colorado playing that it's Midwest vacation. It's like, where do you want to go? It's the lakes versus the mountains.
That's right.
Charlie, you like USC?
Yeah, I've got USC beating Oregon to win the Pac-12 this year.
Marcus?
I'm going to take USC as well. I do like Utah a lot, but USC to win the Pac-12.
Any other team? Nathan, I don't know if you told me your team that you liked. Any other team to pull a Cincinnati to make this playoff?
I think Utah has the stones to be able to do it. I think Utah very well could be that 4th playoff team this year. There is another team though in state that I think is going to have a
God damn it, you stole my thunder. You stole you son of a bitch. You stole my thunder.
It's let's share it together then, Schottenkirk.
It's a goddamn crock. It's a goddamn crock of shit. BYU's not ranked in the fucking preseason. They absolutely can run the table. They can run the table.
Yep.
They have a lot of tough road games, but god damn it, that offense is fucking unbelievable.
Somebody's fired up.
If we are talking about weird games, how about Arkansas going out to Provo to take on BYU?
They've got 4 games. They got
October 15th. Like, it's just, oh my goodness. Can you imagine how drunk those Hogs fans are going to be in that dry ass state of Utah? I mean, it's just going to be insane.
They go to Oregon. They have Notre Dame in Vegas. They have Arkansas the next week on homecoming. They go to Liberty, which it doesn't sound like it, but Liberty's been decent. They go to Boise, and they go to Stanford. Granted, that doesn't sound all that easy for them, but if they go 11-1 or 12-0, that's a fucking playoff team 100%.
I have them at 11-1.
I think I do too.
With that one loss being to Oregon, but I could see them running the table. I really do.
They got Baylor week 2.
Yeah, fuck it. Yeah, holy shit.
Baylor and Oregon
too,
back
yeah.
to back. They got Baylor and Oregon back to back. They have Notre Dame and Arkansas back to back. That's your season right there.
And they've got 11 returning starters on defense, and that fucking offense is awesome.
Yep.
Baylor,
I like that
Baylor
when they play Arkansas, it's going to be Arkansas, who like frequently is the largest SEC team against a bunch of 26-year-olds from BYU. Whereas in some ways, size-wise, that's the closest to an NFL. Maybe not talent and skin athleticism, but size-wise, as close as we can get to an NFL game this year.
Does BYU count for a non-power, like for the New Year's 6 game, if they don't make the playoff? Or do we still have to take someone from the American?
I think they would be the non-Power 5 team.
Okay.
And they got Notre Dame, obviously at Ohio State. They got Clemson late in the year, and they're at USC and also BYU. So
if we're comparing here, like Utah versus BYU, if they're both 11-1, Schottenkirk, who do you think goes?
Wow.
When they play head to head.
Who's the lot? You said.
So I have Utah losing at UCLA.
Yeah.
And running
12-1
and
Utah that won the Pac-12.
Yep.
Utah
and then BYU 11-1 with that one loss at Oregon.
I think Utah would get it, but I think in that scenario, just based off preseason stuff, because Utah is already a little bit higher up in people's radar or whatever. But quite honestly, if they both go 11-1, I would find it more impressive from BYU.
I will root for BYU. They won't get there, but I'll root for them to do. And we should know pretty early on, if they can get through Baylor and Oregon, all right, we got something there.
Right.
Honestly, too many tough games there. I mean, their schedule is really tough, and I just have them for 2 losses at some. I mean, or 1 or 2 losses, I should say. I think they could be that New Year's Six team.
They're 21-4 the last 2 years, and like I said, they got all 11 guys back on defense and most of the pieces on offense. If there was a year that they could ever actually deal with this schedule that they have, it's this year. They might not, but it should be a lot of fun to watch.
And last
year Cincinnati made the playoff based off beating Notre Dame. Maybe it happens again with BYU this year based off beating Notre Dame.
And last year BYU was ravaged by injuries, so that's I think if BYU can stay healthy, obviously, like you could say that for any team, but BYU has a lot of talent.
What do you like for the Heisman, David? We got some quarterbacks at Alabama and Ohio State. Would be your favorite?
Yeah, the 2 clear favorites, and deservedly so. I think C.J. Stroud wins the award. I think the best value, even though it's not even a great value anymore, is Bijan Robinson from Texas. As far as odds-wise, he's going to be up there. But it's unless something happens, and God forbid, it's one. Rooting for an Alabama quarterback or rooting for an Ohio State quarterback is not necessarily all that much fun. But I think it's a 2-horse race if those guys stay healthy and those teams do what they do.
Charlie.
I also think that it's going to be C.J. Stroud. We've basically learned I don't think it's impossible, but it's going to be really tough to win a Heisman twice, let alone 2 years in a row.
Yep.
So I don't think that Bryce Young wins it. I think C.J. Stroud's the most likely. If you want a more interesting one, I would go with a different Alabama guy and go Stacken's guy, Will Anderson, the linebacker.
Yeah.
If he has as big of a year as he did last year where everyone knows about him, I think that could get interesting, but I think it's probably going to be Stroud.
I'll go for the repeat here. I'll go Bryce Young over C.J. Stroud, but those are the 2 favorites. I don't think you can pick. It's not. You're not going to be mad about either one. I don't think if one wins and the other one doesn't.
Marcus.
I think C.J. Stroud is going to be the one. I think Ohio State's going to have a massive year, and I think he's the one.
Yeah, it's hard not to say that. Let's see. I need to pick one of the 2 quarterbacks.
All right. I don't know if anybody else has spent the last 15 minutes.
I'm going to go dark horse Dylan Gabriel, the new Oklahoma quarterback.
That would be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Oklahoma seems to produce
Yep.
Heisman Trophy winners. So, Marcus.
I don't know if anybody has. We usually very poorly try to attempt to project the 6 key bowl games. So I have spent the last 15 minutes trying to figure out how to slot all these teams in it. Do you have yours?
No.
I have to look up and see which bowl games have which this year.
All right, I'll start. I will have in my playoff. I will have Alabama 1, Ohio State 2, Clemson 3, Texas A&M 4.
Texas A&M at 4. Getting in with 1 loss.
Yes.
And you have Ohio State and Clemson as a 3.
Clemson 2-3, so that'd be your Fiesta Bowl, Peach Bowl,
Okay.
Alabama, Texas A&M. I have.
Where's the title game at this? Is it what Indiana was last year?
Atlanta, I think.
Atlanta this year?
It is
The title game's in LA this year.
LA.
LA,
yes.
is it?
Oh, it is. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Yep. I remember hearing Alabama fans were like, "Oh, we're just gonna already get our plane tickets for LA instead of Indianapolis last year."
All right, so I had to really move some stuff around here, but I have in the Sugar Bowl, because I believe that's got to be the Big 12 in the SEC. I got Oklahoma and Georgia there.
What?
The Orange Bowl, I have Notre Dame there because that's where they're slotted to go if they're in a bowl game, a New Year's Six game. I don't know if this would be an ACC team, a Big Ten team. Hard to say.
And from the thing I'm looking at, if Notre Dame's there, it's most likely the other team would be an ACC team, depending on if you've got their champ in the playoff. If not, then whoever.
So I'm gonna say NC State against Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl. This is the pick that is sentimental and also will get me probably ran out of here. I've got USC against Minnesota in the Rose Bowl. And then I've got in the Cotton Bowl, I've got BYU against Houston.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
And
like
Houston,
I like it.
Houston undefeated going to that game.
Wow.
Houston.
Hang on a second. Houston going undefeated.
So
Holy
you look-
shit, guy.
I don't know
What,
that I have.
what has your uncle been saying to you?
Yeah, we haven't talked about this.
You haven't talked about this.
You look at Houston's schedule. Okay, they go to San Antonio. That's a tough game.
The AC.
Then you've got at Texas Tech week 2.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got Kansas at home, Rice, Tulane, Memphis, Navy, USF, SMU, Temple, East Carolina, Tulsa. Which two teams do they not play? Cincinnati
and
UCF.
Central Florida. Yep.
So they're 12-0 going to that championship game, probably hosting. I don't know, potentially in that
And
situation.
they're not making the playoff.
And they're not making the playoff. Because who in that? I mean, are you going to put them in that?
Texas Tech could. I mean, Texas Tech. That'd be
I-
about it.
Yeah, I agree, Marcus. And this is why East Carolina fans
they
are all
should-
over
yeah.
Charlie and myself here. I have Houston and Central Florida both going 11-1. Cincinnati going 10-2.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to pick something weird. Obviously,
Good. I mean,
Minnesota,
you look at that
Liverpool.
schedule, nothing sticks out. Like, what is their toughest game? At Texas Tech?
Probably
Like at Memphis? At Navy?
at Memphis.
SMU is going to
SMU
be
is probably the toughest
Yeah.
game.
Yep.
I mean, that's
And
that's who I have Houston losing to is SMU.
that's doable.
so
All right, good pick. Good pick.
and then they love to match up those teams against each other when they get that far. I think BYU, I agree, is going to have a good year, but probably going to drop one or two. So yeah, I've got those two teams playing each other.
What's your national title? Alabama.
National
Ohio
title game, I've got Alabama and Ohio State. I don't know who I would have. I hate to say this, I'm probably going to pick Ohio State to win it all.
State. Charlie, you're 4.
My 4, let's see, it would be Alabama 1, Ohio State 2, Georgia 3, NC State 4.
God damn it, Charlie. That's the exact same 4 I have.
Which 4 again?
Alabama 1, Ohio State 2, Georgia 3, NC State 4.
Nice.
What a deal.
So Orange Bowl, I would have
Oh, it's all
Miami
ready. It's
against
all ready.
Notre Dame, teams that love playing each other. The Sugar Bowl would be Oklahoma against Texas A&M, former Big 12 South game. The Rose Bowl, I guess, would be USC against Wisconsin. And then the Cotton Bowl, I've got, let's see, it would be either Michigan and Central Florida or Michigan BYU. I'm going to have fun. I'm riding the BYU hype train because of you guys. So it'd be Michigan BYU. A rematch of the team BYU beat the net or to win the
BYU.
national title 30 whatever years ago, 40 whatever years ago.
Good picks. David, you've got the same 4?
I've got the same 4 playoff teams. I sure do.
Charlie, what's your championship?
It is not as sexy as some of the other things. It's pretty boring. It's Alabama, Ohio State with Alabama winning.
David, you've got your 4. You got Alabama, Ohio State.
Charlie and I are brothers. The same thing.
There we go. Have any other of those bowl games or not?
I haven't put it together yet, but most of the matchups that have been said already are kind of in the ballpark. The one interesting one for me, potentially Rose Bowl wise or whatever, but Charlie had, I think, Wisconsin in the Rose Bowl. Another one of my hot takes of the year, I think Wisconsin is a 7-win team. I don't think they're going to be very good this year.
Well, in your situation, you would have Nebraska in the Rose Bowl.
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I hope Schottenkirk's more right than I am about the Rose Bowl.
We got Minnesota in the Rose Bowl. We got fucking Nebraska in the
NC State in the playoff.
That's the thing when Ohio State's in the playoff every year, second place team, you're in, man.
I hate to
year 6 game.
Right. I hate to be the potential bearer of bad news, but I was so sold on fucking Washington last year. God, I hope NC State doesn't do the same thing to me.
I think Washington is going to be very intriguing next year once DeBoer gets gets the Pierre guy coming in next year. So that'll.
I mean, I'm not sure the Pierre guy is going to play right away, but yeah.
I know.
The Pierre guy better think of transferring back home after about a year.
I agree.
I think Washington's going to be fun.
I really like Washington long term. I think they could be pretty interesting.
When Washington is good, this might be preposterous, but when Washington is good and Seattle's actually going, that's a top 5 venue in college football.
Mm-hmm.
But granted, they were okay and they made a playoff, whatever. But it shouldn't be that hard to get Washington going, and I think Kalen DeBoer might have a chance of doing that here pretty quick.
Can you do it without a quarterback named Jake, for Christ's sake?
Can he do it in the shell of the pack?
I'll give anybody $5. You can tell me who Washington's starting quarterback's going to be this year.
Marcus Tuiasosopo.
I was going to say we're going to combine things, and it's going to be Jake Tuiasosopo.
No, I know this. Okay, Schottenkirk. If I don't get the name exactly right, can I tell you where he's coming from? Because I know he transferred from Incarnate Word. That's
the Washington State guy. The Incarnate Word. What the hell is that guy's name?
I forgot he transferred. I just looked it up because I couldn't wait. I forgot he transferred to Washington. That's something.
The Michael Penix from Indiana is at Washington.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
No.
I knew that. Oh my God.
The guy from Incarnate Word that you're talking about, that Cameron Ward, that's going to be awfully interesting out there in Pullman. But
oh man. Here, I thought I was going to impress everyone, and I just downright destroy my reputation. What's this?
Hey, look, you got the state right. I mean, I'm not unimpressed.
Okay, well, thank you.
They just happen to be 4 hours away from each other. And Washington State literally stormed the field at Washington last year. No big deal.
fuck them.
Jack, what's your playoff?
I'm going to go really just chaotic here. So indulge me here for a sec. Well, I guess not too chaotic. Alabama 1, Ohio State 2.
Whoa, slow down here, guys.
I know. Here we go.
Okay.
Texas A&M 3. Utah 4.
There you go.
Utah 4. I generally I hate the color red. There's so much goddamn red in this here. Just red up the ass. Maroon. So much.
Well,
red.
I mean,
Red and blue are the two
it's
most
one of
common
those
sports
teams.
colors.
They got it's either red or blue. Orange. That's why you go with orange. What's your championship game?
Alabama against Ohio State, and until you beat them, go with Bama.
Alabama. Marcus likes Ohio State. I like Alabama 1, Ohio State 2, USC 3, BYU 4.
Oh shit, son.
Ooh, I like that one.
Who do you have 3?
USC. Let's go.
Okay. All right.
All in on these motherfuckers.
I really am shocked that you're going with South Carolina. I really am.
Oldie but a goodie. Oldie but a goodie. Yeah.
The only reason
The
why
real
is
USC.
South Alabama's got a tough schedule, so I can't go with that.
Anybody have any inclination on potentially the first coach fired in season? I know it's relatively rare, but it happens.
Jerry
Brian
Kill.
Harsin.
I got one. I got one in the desert.
I mean, if they lose early, it could be Scott Frost. But I hope that
Edwards can go fuck himself. Get the fuck out of there.
who?
What about
Herm
who's the coach
Edwards.
at frickin' Jed Fish, Arizona. You get shit canned.
No, there's quite a bit of momentum in Arizona, believe it or not.
Their recruiting is great. By the way, North Dakota State
when
beats them.
NDSU pants them, we'll see how much momentum there is.
Also, I don't think any of us would be stunned if Auburn got happy or excited to hire Brian Arson early.
Right. I think we can agree. I think we can agree, Marcus, that we'll be huge Jed Fish fans in that game against NDSU.
You're right about that. You're right about that.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Charlie, to do this to you, but Scott Frost could be canned.
I mean, at this point, I'm pretty numb to Nebraska losses. So.
It's gonna be after.
If this was 2012, I'd be pretty upset, but by now, I'm kind of used to it.
I don't know if it's gonna be after the Rutgers loss or at Purdue, but one of those two losses.
I got a dark horse when the Nebraska job opens up. Frank Solich. They just named the field after.
Yeah, he's the last Nebraska coach to play in a national title game.
Where's Jerry Kill at this year?
New Mexico State. He's going to fight PJ Fleck in the first game.
He's the head coach, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Great.
The best part is that's fucking New Mexico State's second game.
That's right. They play this week.
Yep.
You go Alabama USC. Alabama.
Oh my God. You're pulling the me. Usually I'm the one that's fucking delusional on the USC.
Anybody have a trivia question? I've got one, a random one.
I'd like to also get on the record my other season-long pick. I have Oklahoma over on the wins as well. I don't have that sheet in front of me, but Notre Dame over 8.5 wins. I have the Fighting Irish for 9 or more. So
I have Notre Dame at 9 and
6. Thank you.
What team in the top 10 is not going to be
Get a goddamn lamp, Travis. Jesus. Sit in the dark.
I do have a whole Arizona right now. Does it work? No, it's not point.
Figure it out.
What a top 10 team that doesn't get ranked at the end? It always happens usually.
I need to see.
Let's look at that.
Notre Dame, Utah. I mean, NC State. Where are they at? 15 maybe.
I'll jump off the top rope. I think it's Notre Dame. Fuck them.
Notre Dame.
I mean, Texas A&M certainly could be.
I'm going them.
You got Baylor. The Baylor's 10.
I got Oklahoma.
Oklahoma's 9. Michigan's 8.
I have Oklahoma with 4 losses, so I don't think that's top 10 material.
Oh, there you go. Light. You got goddamn light. All right, there we go.
Texas A&M, Utah, and Baylor would be the most likely ones.
We do need to correct the record on one thing. BYU is ranked 25th in the AP poll, so not ranked in the coach or the coaches.
Also, Clemson
at 4. That's tough.
Figure out a quarterback.
Where the hell did you find that sexy head at?
Oh, I've had this one.
That's good one. Good one.
Can I also just add real quickly here? I just need to give a shout out to my Hokies. Beginning of a new era. We're excited. I mentioned North Carolina's at App State and at Georgia State. Virginia Tech is at Old Dominion on Friday, September 2nd, and then November 19th, because it always comes back to November 19th, they're at Liberty. What the hell?
There's going to be like a terrorist attack the day before, and that's not going to happen. On November 19th. Something big's going to happen the 18th.
Stack, and what do you think of Grant Wells, quarterback, Virginia Tech?
I mean, I thought his numbers were somewhat good at Marshall. It's just I don't know. I haven't gone through the ACC portion for me yet. I don't know. I'm just. It seems like there's a lot of excitement. Recruiting's been good, so I'm looking forward to Virginia Tech getting back on top here soon.
As your wife is of you, I'm sure. But first, a trivia question.
Well played. Well played.
Fucking off the top rope. Holy shit.
We have 2 kids. We have 2 kids for a reason.
2 kids.
That was Shane McMahon off the top of Hell in a Cell right there.
Oof. I got a trivia question, completely random. I'll give everybody a strike. That's how. These are just guesses. Has anybody heard of the Coca-Cola Classic?
Was that the one that they played in Tokyo?
That is the one they played in Tokyo, yes.
Okay.
And with Nebraska and Northwestern playing in Ireland for some fucking reason Saturday, this game was on Big Ten Network a night or two ago. It was Michigan State and Wisconsin. 1993, they were playing in the Tokyo Dome. Like, that's interesting. What the hell was that about? I don't know what it was about, but I have found all the games from that time, from 1977 to 1993. College football held a game in Tokyo every year. I think there's
Go back to doing that.
32 teams. The question is, who played in these games?
Wow.
I mean, there are some big time college programs and a couple not so big. One FCS team in this mix. If you get the FCS team, you win the game. Or I should say non-FBS team. It's a team we all know about, a team we've all heard of. So if you get it, you win the game. We'll go for a change. We'll have David go first. David, Triple B, NYC, TCU.
I'm gonna preface this by I have literally no fucking idea. And that's probably the whole point of it. I'm gonna go Pitt.
Pittsburgh. No.
I got to steal it before Charlie does. I'll say Nebraska.
Yes. Nebraska played in 1992 against Kansas State. They beat them 38-24.
Wait. Are you supposed to give the Kansas State there?
I will give both teams. So if you get one of them, I'll give them both. Since this is a very just random guess question. So Kansas State off the board.
Stacken stole the one that I knew, so I will cheat and I will say Michigan State, the one that Travis just said.
Yes. They did lose to Wisconsin 41-20. That was the last one in 93. So the last two ones have been said. Marcus.
I will go with Notre Dame.
Yes, they played in 79. They beat Miami 40-15.
Shit.
So Miami's one of them, and this was also known as the Mirage Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Before they changed it to the Coca-Cola Bowl in 86. Coca-Cola said, I want my name on that. It was the Mitsubishi Mirage line of compact cars. So
Nice.
All right, John and Kirk, you've got one strike. Your trivia.
Well, I'm probably going to strike out like Miguel Sano here, but I'll say Stanford.
Stanford, yes, they're on the list.
Oh,
They played Arizona in 86.
what a game.
29-24.
I was
These
going to
games
go
would
with
be like the last game, like late November, early December.
I was going to go Miami, but obviously that can't be said. Now, we'll try Oklahoma.
No.
Shit.
I don't know how Stacken knew that Nebraska and Kansas State played in one, but the only thing I know about the Tokyo Bowl, I will tell my brief Tokyo Bowl story. Bill Snyder, when he was the head coach at Kansas State, was known for being meticulous. And he was so meticulous that when they booked a flight out there, I guess they flew commercially, or if it wasn't commercially, like they had boosters or something on the flight too. And he made it so his players were all on one side of the plane, and it was the side that did not have the sun, so they could get sleep on the plane still.
Wow.
That was how meticulous Bill Snyder was.
Wow.
And I don't know who else. I'm in full guess mode. Since they changed it to the Coca-Cola Bowl, Coke's headquarters are in Atlanta. I will guess Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech? No Georgia Tech.
That's good strategy, though.
Everybody's got a strike except Marcus.
I'm going to go with USC. Has not been said, correct?
They've not been said.
I will go with them.
They played Oregon in 85.
All right.
Oh, yeah. It's not.
Schottenkirk, is he out?
No, he got.
Yeah, you're still outstanding.
Yep.
Well, I got two teams in mind. I have no idea. Nobody has any idea, but I'm gonna go for the joke. Did Hawaii go there for as a little payback or a little good grace after Pearl Harbor?
Oh, Hawaii.
I believe they sent the team from the naval base and everything.
Yeah. Okay, Schottenkirk is out. I will give you a shot at the non-FBS team that went.
This is the chance to kick out at 2 3/4.
There it is. I guess there's two of them. There are two of them. I'll give you two guesses.
Fucking Christ. I don't know, Youngstown State, just for the fuck of it.
No, I'll give you one more.
Northern Arizona.
Nope. Triple B.
Let's go with Georgia.
No. You get two guesses at the non-FCS team.
Villanova.
Run it. Nope.
And New Hampshire.
No. Charlie,
Damn it.
stay alive.
I'm going to go with not Kansas State, but just regular Kansas.
No. Two guesses at the other schools.
All right. My first guess is Indiana State.
Nope.
My second guess is the University of South Dakota.
Oh, no. Marcus, the winner. I'll give you one more guess at a normal team.
I'm gonna go with Washington.
No Washington.
Okay.
Other teams on this list included Temple versus Boston College, Notre Dame, Miami. We did that. UCLA, Oregon State, Air Force, San Diego State, Clemson, Wake Forest, Houston, SMU.
Damn it!
Can I guess at the FCS one?
Yep, Callan, Washington State, Louisville, Syracuse, Houston, Arizona State, Duke, Clemson.
My guess on this is because you said it's a school everybody knows.
Yeah.
It's probably a school everybody knows that we don't care or know about, and I would say Grambling.
Yep. Yeah. Grambling was in the first ever game. They beat Temple 45-32. This other team in 1984 played Army. They lost 45-31. Who was that?
Sacramento State.
This is the team you've seen in person. You've seen this team in person.
Well, that takes my guess of Wichita State out then.
Montana. Army and Montana in Japan in 1984.
I've never seen Montana in person.
You've not?
STSU hasn't played them since.
Oh, goddamn.
And they've been road games.
Montana State. Yeah. You've
not Montana State they played a couple times.
Yeah. All right, there we go. College football 2022. BYU, NC State. This will be the NC State preview right here.
This could go down in the history books.
See how it goes.
Clemson was the Lounges team for a while. Maybe somehow it's going to be NC State, unless they just fall on their face this year. Then they'll be dead to me.
Utah and NC State. Balls, picks balls of steel. There we go. Any final thoughts as we wrap it up? Stacking. Football, are you excited?
I am. This is the first year I've actually bought a magazine, so kind of going through all this, I feel a little more educated on my picks. So I'm hoping that they don't fall flat on my face.
Marcus, when did you first buy a magazine?
I've always bought magazines, but I have a lot of them on my the Phil Steele books in particular on my list, so I can tell you exactly. I have them sitting here going back to 2014. I would guess I probably had them before then for a couple years too. So I probably bought the Phil Steele book every year for the last decade at least. And I mean, it was a very long time thing of like, I would definitely get a couple fantasy football books every fall, obviously before the internet was as big as it is now. And then, definitely a college football book every year. I saw Stack and hold up the Athlon book. I was an Athlon guy for a long time. Lindy's was the one I got this year. And I would get an NFL, do the NFL every a lot as a kid too. So I was always a sucker for them. Obviously there's not as much of a need for them now because so much of the information's on the internet, but you can't beat,
the hard copy.
You can't beat the hard copy. You can't beat 352 pages of crap and information that you'll never need. You'll never, when am I ever going to,
How would I be able to write all the W's and L's next to all these schedules?
Fucking right. Tradition like no other.
That's right.
Charlie, anything you're looking forward to this year? We didn't go through any of the big games. There are a couple of big games early on, but you like college football. That's your number one. Anything we didn't mention that you're excited about?
Ohio State and Notre Dame week 1's a big one early. If Texas had their crap more together, I'd be more intrigued about them playing Alabama, but I don't expect that to be close. I suppose the other one, at least in terms of preseason rankings, I think they're both in the top 5. Clemson and Notre Dame play again, so that could also a good chance that one of those two could make the playoff. I think in terms of non-conference. And then the other thing I guess I would say is did Jim Harbaugh and Michigan turn the corner for more than 1 year, and will they be really good again, or are they going to be actually we're 8-4 and it was kind of a 1-year thing, and he'll be out of town in 2 or 3 years?
David, anything USC coming up? If Amon was here, anything you think Amon would have said during this 2-hour discussion?
He probably just would have asked me how many more times I'm going to say USC is going to be back before they actually come back, or how many more times I'm going to post something either late at night or in the random of a Tuesday afternoon about USC recruiting and getting another 4 or 5-star guy. He seems to love when I do that. No,
he would have asked how hot Lincoln Riley's wife.
Oh, right. Well, that too. And then he would ask me again if I was gay, and I would tell him no for the 7 millionth time. But that's it is what it is. But no, it should be a fun year, and obviously at the top with Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, the usual suspects. But like we went through, there's enough intrigue with some teams that haven't been there, and I'm looking forward to it. Some people are afraid that we're losing or going to be losing a lot of the traditions with the conferences changing, but I think it's an adjustment period, but I think college football is going to be just fine down the road. I can't wait for this year.
I would say the big rivalry years ago was our two bottom folks here, David and Nathan. I would say the new rivalry is Amon and Schottenkirk. I would say you met, you shook hands at the wedding. It was a great meeting, and then we'll go from there.
Let's be honest.
I'll try my best.
Schottenkirk, he gets aggressive with the photos of the ladies, and Amon's spoken for, so it's a tough spot for Amon, to be in. And Schottenkirk keeps him on his toes. There's no doubt about it.
And Amon's a communist. I'll put that on the record too. Yeah. You guys know that.
You like to point that out.
On the record, quote him with that. Lounge 289.
Wait, can I get one extra word in here?
Yes.
I think South Dakota State has a good chance to beat Iowa first week of the season. And also, did we talk about this media deal at all with the Big Ten and stuff? I saw a video hyping the Big Ten
you
coming
hate
to
it.
CBS. No,
you hate it.
No. It's weird to me. I don't know what ESPN's doing. I almost think that this helps the Pac-12 maybe because ESPN's going to focus their resources elsewhere to help the Pac-12 and the Big 12 now that they won't have Big 10 anymore. But I saw the SEC music on CBS now for Big 10, and it got me hyped a little bit, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm curious what everyone – and we could talk about this another time since it's not until next year, but – I think it's just very intriguing. I'm curious to see where ESPN goes, but I feel like the Pac-12 is will benefit from this. It's just a gut reaction.
I've said this for years, but that was a perfect opportunity again where I need this button that I can just push at any given time. When Stacken said the word weird, I was obviously thinking money talks. I need a button that I can just press and then Shane McMahon's theme music starts because it's about the fucking money.
I think the Pac-12 might be a little bit of a beneficiary. I think the biggest beneficiary for ESPN is going to be the SEC, though, and they're going to double down more on that than anything else. I think there might be a few more Big 12 and Pac-12 games, but I think it's going to be more like, hey, guess what? All of a sudden, that Kentucky at Arkansas game, we're going to talk about a lot more than we would before.
Yeah, those two ABC games are now going to be, I guess they have three. Two of those are going to be SEC games for sure, and maybe all three. And then ESPN and ESPN2 will have their fair share, and obviously they need to keep some inventory for SEC Network as well. But, I mean, there's a fair amount of Big 12 games that end up on ESPNU now the way it is, or ESPN2. So I think that's going to be part of it. I think we're getting a little too caught up, at least my understanding, about 11 a.m. Fox, 2:30 CBS, 6 or 7 for NBC. Fox, I'm sure, will still carry a game at 2:30, and I'm guessing the Big Ten will be in there a bunch. How much do they want to go against their big game that's going to be on CBS? Hard to say. And then, Fox doesn't always have night games because they have baseball, but Fox Sports 1 will have a lot of Big Ten content. I think it's going to work out pretty well. I mean, sort of this NFL philosophy of being on the broadcast networks, it's welcome, even though the cock will be part of what we're doing here on some of these, these lesser games, and certainly Minnesota, Nebraska, we're going to have our share of games on the cock.
They're going to let the cock be the last word? Yeah, a year or two before some more big-time changes here for college football.
Next year, the CBS, apparently, they're going to have a handful of games. They'll all be early in the year. There we go. Thank God.
There we go. It's about the money, folks. $1 billion a year. There it is. For Lincoln, for Triple B, for NYC, for TCU. This is USC Sports Lounge 289.